Welcome to Terror Tales. Tonight, we uncover the eerie story of the Haunting of Briarwood Cottage. Prepare yourself for a tale of ghostly encounters and chilling secrets that will leave you on edge. Nestled deep in the woods on the outskirts of a small town stood Briarwood Cottage, an old, ivy-covered house with a dark past. The locals whispered of a haunting, claiming that the spirit of a young girl wandered its halls, her soul trapped by a tragic fate. Intrigued by the stories, I decided to spend the night at Briarwood Cottage to uncover the truth. As an experienced paranormal investigator, I had ventured into many haunted locations, but the legends surrounding Briarwood Cottage were particularly unsettling. I arrived at the cottage just as dusk fell, casting long shadows across the overgrown garden. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. I stepped inside the cottage, and a chill ran down my spine. The interior was quaint, but filled with an eerie silence. Dust-covered furniture and cobwebs draped over old, faded photographs gave the place a sense of abandonment. I set up my equipment in the living room, hoping to capture any paranormal activity. As night fell, the atmosphere grew more oppressive. The temperature dropped, and I began to hear faint whispers, like the soft murmur of a child's voice. I followed the sound to the upstairs bedroom, where the whispers grew louder. The room was small and cluttered, with a single bed and an old wooden rocking chair. Suddenly, the rocking chair began to move on its own, creaking back and forth. I felt a cold breeze brush past me, and the whispers turned into a soft, mournful cry. It was the voice of a young girl, pleading for help. My heart pounded my chest, but I remained focused, determined to uncover her story. The next morning, I visited the local library to research the history of Briarwood Cottage. I discovered that the cottage had once been owned by the Thompson family. Their youngest daughter, Emily, had died tragically in the house at the age of 7. The cause of her death was shrouded in mystery, but rumors suggested it had been a terrible accident. With this knowledge, I returned to the cottage that night. The whispers greeted me as soon as I stepped inside, growing louder and more insistent. I made my way to the upstairs bedroom, where Emily's presence was strongest. Her ghostly figure appeared before me, her eyes filled with sorrow and desperation. I spoke to Emily, asking her what had happened and how I could help. Her spirit led me to a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards, where I found an old, tattered diary. The diary belonged to Emily's mother, and it detailed the events leading up to the tragedy. According to the diary, Emily had been playing near the fireplace when she accidentally knocked over a candle, setting the room ablaze. Her mother had tried desperately to save her, but the flames spread too quickly. Overcome with grief and guilt, Emily's mother had hidden the diary and never spoken of the incident again. With tears in my eyes, I read the diary aloud, hoping to give voice to Emily's pain. As I finished the last entry, the room was filled with a warm, comforting light. Emily's spirit seemed to smile, her expression now one of peace. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the whispers ceased. I knew that Emily had finally found the closure she needed to move on. As I gathered my equipment to leave, a sudden gust of wind slammed the cottage door shut, and the whispers returned, more intense than before. This time, they were not alone. I felt a presence, a cold, menacing force that seemed to be observing my every move. The air grew heavy, and the temperature plummeted. I was not alone in the cottage. There was another entity, one that did not want Emily's spirit to be free. Determined to uncover the full story, I decided to stay and confront this new presence. The whispers led me to the attic, a space I had not yet explored. The narrow staircase creaked ominously as I ascended, and the air grew colder with each step. The attic was a cluttered, forgotten place, filled with old furniture, dusty trunks, and cobwebs. In the corner, I found a portrait of a stern-looking man, his eyes cold and unforgiving. I recognized him from the diary, Emily's father, Thomas Thompson. According to the diary, Thomas had been a strict and controlling man, deeply opposed to the frivolity and joy that Emily brought to the household. His disdain for Emily's playful nature had led to many arguments with his wife, and it became clear that Thomas's oppressive presence had left a dark mark on the cottage. Suddenly, the temperature dropped further, and the whispers turned into a guttural growl. The attic door slammed shut, and I felt a cold hand grip my shoulder. Spinning around, I came face to face with the ghostly figure of Thomas Thompson. His eyes burned with anger, and he spoke in a voice that echoed with resentment. "You should have left her be." I stood my ground, determined to confront him. "Emily deserves peace," I replied, my voice steady. "You have tormented her long enough." Thomas's spirit seemed to waver, his form flickering like a candle in the wind. I realized that his anger and resentment had kept Emily's spirit bound to the cottage. To free her, I needed to help him find peace as well. Recalling the diary, I remembered a passage about a locket that Emily's mother had given to her, a symbol of their love and hope. It was said to be hidden somewhere in the attic. I began to search through the clutter, my hands trembling with urgency. The whispers grew louder, and Thomas's presence became more oppressive. Finally, I found the locket, buried beneath an old trunk. As I held it in my hand, a sense of warmth and light filled the attic. I spoke aloud, addressing both Emily and Thomas. "This locket represents the love and forgiveness that you both need. It's time to let go and find peace." The air grew still, and I felt a sense of calm wash over the attic. Thomas's spirit began to fade, his expression softening. Emily's ghostly figure appeared beside him, her eyes filled with gratitude. As they embraced, their forms dissolved into the light, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. I left Briarwood Cottage, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. I had uncovered the tragic story of the Thompson family and helped both Emily and Thomas find the peace they deserved. The experience left me with a renewed respect for the lingering emotions that can bind spirits to the earthly realm. Thank you for joining us on this extended eerie journey through Briarwood Cottage. If you enjoyed this tale, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-chilling stories. Sweet dreams, if you can.